Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming along to Dungannon today in this lovely, bright room that we're at the Junction. This was actually a Peace-funded project, so it's a delight to be back here seeing it and using the facility. My name's Paul Boyle, and I'm one of the programme managers with the Special European Union's programmes body. I'm going to sort of be taking you through some of the presentation today and facilitating the question and answer session at the end. Today is really about an opportunity for you to hear more about the Theme 2.2, and we'll go into quite a bit of detail around that, but also an opportunity for you to network and speak to others in the room today. And we also have an online facility to network as well through our website, and we'll send links out after the event to that sort of stuff. Just some of the housekeeping. There is no fire alarm test due today. If the fire alarm does go, we have to convene in the car park over to the right or into the Tesco car park. The toilets are just out the room on the right-hand side. Lunch is due to be served around 12, maybe a bit before, and do take the opportunity to network over lunch. The event today is being recorded and will be uploaded to the website. So if you are asking questions, please do use the mic to ensure that the recording captures that. I'm now going to sort of take you through an outline of the agenda and do some basic introductions. Today, it says Declan McGarrigle, but it's actually me that's going to take you through that, so apologies about that. But we do have our Interim Joint Secretariat Director, Helen Donaldson, with us today. We also have Keith Foster with us today from the Department for the Economy. He's the Director of Strategic Policy there. And David O'Neill, who is the Ireland UK unit rep from the Department for Enterprise, Trade and Employment. So very welcome, and you'll get to hear more from them shortly when they take you through the details in each jurisdiction. We also have supporting SEUPB today is Fiona Rooney from Pinnacle Growth Group, and she will be the person that you will be liaising with after the event to submit your concept note today. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how we've arrived here with the PEACEPLUS Programme, and then I'm going to hand over to my policy colleagues in Northern Ireland and Ireland before we hand over to Fiona. And then after Fiona is finished, I'm going to give you a few updates on the practicalities of delivering PEACEPLUS, and then open it up for question and answers. So without further ado, I'll skip on here and take you through the PEACEPLUS Programme and how we've arrived here. That's actually one of our Interreg projects up on the screen, the multimodal hub in Derry, Londonderry, which has recently been completed. It's a fantastic picture. So with the support of the Northern Ireland Executive and the Government of Ireland, the UK Government, the European Union, we've arrived at a PEACEPLUS programme. So we're building upon the previous success of the Peace and Interreg programmes, and judging by some of the faces in the room today, there's a few people being heavily involved in those programmes, in the delivery, the project delivery of those programmes. The key differential with PEACEPLUS is that there's a renewed focus on peace and reconciliation and peace and prosperity, and I'll touch a bit more on that in a moment. All projects will have to ensure they're cross-border and economic and territorial development included within them. That's one of the key elements. So in developing the PEACEPLUS programme, there was significant stakeholder engagement. A number of public events, I think it was 2019 they started. It seems an age ago, given COVID and everything. So I think there's over 1,000 submissions to the public consultation, and we've had ongoing bilateral meetings with the governments in Northern Ireland and the South to arrive at a point in which we have a PEACEPLUS programme. So the PEACEPLUS programme has a value of 1.1 billion euros, and we will be delivering that over a 7-year period. We have a functional area of Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. That doesn't mean we can't have project partners from outside the eligible area. Those of you who will be familiar with Interreg will know that we previously had projects delivering on the ground in Scotland. That is still permissible, providing you could show that there's benefit to the territorial area there, the functional area as outlined on the screen. So that's all of Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. So this is the simplest way to express what is Peace Plus. It's the crossover where peace and prosperity meets, and that's what we're trying to deliver at a very simplistic level. Today we're going to be talking in much more detail about Theme 2, which is looking to deliver social, economic regeneration and transformation. And we're building on the success of the Interreg programme in and around this area. And specifically, we're going to talk about 2.2, and I'm now going to hand over in a few moments to my colleague Keith to give his view on the Northern Ireland element and some of the policy context. But a basic project life cycle, where are we? We're sort of up here, the project development and application stage. The reason we're up there at the moment is we don't have a finance agreement signed between the UK government and the European Union. That finance agreement is imminent. It's going through a parliamentary process. That releases the funds for the project proposals to then submit formal applications. So once the finance agreement's in place, the Programme Monitoring Committee meets and agrees the call document, the programme manual, a lot of the technical details, which you'll get in due course, and then we could open up and start having a formal call process. So everything we're talking about today at concept note stage is that it's not scored, it's a concept, it's an idea. We're not ranking or scoring any of these applications. It's an opportunity for you to come together and get feedback through a process of the concept note. So again, back into 2.2 is our main focus today, and I'm going to hand over now to Keith.
Thank you. I have 10 minutes here, so I'm going to try and just provide a sense of the innovation policy priorities from a Northern Ireland perspective. It's still very much, this is an area that's constantly evolving. I wouldn't say that it's static or it's finalised. It's still very much policy under development, and it's complex, and there's a lot of interdependencies. And I'm more than happy to sort of talk through those afterwards, or if you want to get in contact, if anything particularly resonates with you following the presentation. Very happy to pick that up as well, because I am aware that there's only so much we can do in 10 minutes here, so happy to continue those conversations afterwards. Really, my name is Keith Forster. I'm Director of Strategic Policy within the Department for the Economy in Northern Ireland. Pleased to be here today to sort of talk through where we are. And on that regard, really the context for the innovation policy development at the minute is really the 10X economic vision that was launched. Diane Dodds, Minister Dodds, about 2 years ago. And this really sort of sets out, it's a visionary piece to sort of set out the high-level aspirations for economic development policy within Northern Ireland. And I think it's a different approach to what has gone before, in that we're trying to focus much more on outcomes, maybe less so on what are the individual drivers of economic growth. And we talk about this triple bottom line, that really what we're trying to do when we look at how to support the growth across the economy, we're asking ourselves, how do we do that in a way that's innovative, in a way that's sustainable, and a way that's inclusive? I'm the lead for the innovation aspect of that, and I'm happy to sort of have a chat through that today, but that is the high-level context, and unpacking what innovation means, what we're trying to achieve, where our strengths, where our opportunities are, is something that we're working through at the minute. So I'll just give you a high-level sense of that as we go through here. From the softer side, when we talk about innovation, what do we mean? Well, really, we're talking about a cultural thing, so encouraging a culture that is innovative, that has that sort of entrepreneurial outlook at its core, but it's very much underpinned by high levels of collaboration. I think, within Northern Ireland and within the South, from an all-island perspective, we do have a very mature ecosystem I think we have a lot of institutions, a lot of organisations that do a lot of good things. I do think at times we don't collaborate enough across that. I think there's very much a role for us from a government perspective to provide that leadership and ensure that the conditions are there for the right levels of collaboration. So that's a very important part of what it is we're trying to do when we move forward. Another aspect is us as a public sector, as a government. I think we need to have a hard look at ourselves in terms of what do we do as an organisation, how are we innovative, how do we embrace digitalisation, open data and things like that. So that's all very much on the agenda. We want to stop talking about innovation that it's at the high end, it's only for a certain cohort of high-end businesses or a high-end network of people. Instead, it's about how is it done in an inclusive way. So how do all people, all businesses, all institutions have a role in contributing to these innovation policy priorities going forward? I think there's good alignment, certainly in terms of the PEACEPLUS aspects and certainly what we're considering from a strategic perspective. We have identified a number of underlying sectors, technologies, niche areas within the North where we have underlying strengths and capabilities. We're very clear that we want to focus on those areas. I think that in the past we have tried to do a little bit of everything for everyone. I think the mindset now is let's try to provide some focus to really see if we can unlock the strengths and capabilities within sectors such as life and health sciences, advanced manufacturing, agri-food, digital ICT, and more broadly the creative industries, looking at things like cyber and AI. So I think there is going to be opportunities to work together to deliver shared objectives within the call, and obviously exploring opportunities for North-South collaboration as part of our own Innovation Action Plan development process is something that we're very eager to do. I suppose, again, from a context perspective, as a department, we consulted just before Christmas on a number of high-level targets and high-level objectives and underpinning targets to try and bring some focus and clarity in terms of what it is we want to achieve. I think this has been helpful because, we do continuously ask ourselves the question, what is it we're doing, what could we be doing, and how does it contribute to these targets? And that very much frames the context of the discussions that we're having at the minute. So, what do we mean in an innovation policy context? Well, really, it's the words against that objective there. So it's for Northern Ireland to have a high performance, which is driven by innovation, underpinned by high levels of collaboration across business, academia, government, and civil society. We want to measure the achievement of that through an R&D lens, primarily. And in that regard, we've set ourselves a target of increasing expenditure in R&D to 55% by 2030. Now, that probably doesn't mean a lot to most people, but I can assure you that would really be putting us up there in the top tier of small advanced economies if we were to achieve that. And there's quite a significant gap we have to close if we are to get to there. Underpinning that, as I said, there's a number of contributing objectives, which will reflect, when I get to it in a second, the strategic framework that we're taking that underpins the innovation work. So this is about getting more businesses engaged in R&D. It's about getting more businesses generally innovation active. It's about getting businesses to look at themselves through a lens of innovation and ask themselves the question, how could I be more innovative? And it's about people, in particular around qualifications and having a right pipeline of people suitably qualified in STEM and other areas that will actually provide the supply to drive forward the agenda. We've produced a framework, and I think this is probably the best and most simple way to represent the current thinking and how the building blocks come together under the policy work that we're currently undertaking. I'll talk a little bit about the strategic objectives in a second. There's a separate slide on that. But I think what might be helpful to think about is there's a number of big policy enablers, and the question is, what are we doing within those enablers that will help us achieve our objectives? So things like skills is a big one. How are we getting that pipeline? How do we currently fund and how do we currently support businesses and organisations to adopt new innovative practices? And I think there's a whole literature out there around things that we could be doing differently and different approaches that we could be taking. How do we focus within sort of key clusters and key technologies? A lot of that for us is around foresighting and looking at what's coming down the pipeline at us, and how do we position ourselves now to take opportunities to sort of embrace these things that are coming. I mean, if you look at AI as an area, it's an area that we've tried to get ahead of the curve on, I think, but these things move so quickly. I think, industry would tell you we've already missed the boat on that to an extent, so it's really important for us to now think, well, what comes after AI? And how do we get ahead of that? We've got a huge investment coming in the place agenda through the city and growth deals. I think if anybody was to say, what would you do to drive innovation across a small region? One of the first things you would say would be, well, let's invest in multi-million-pound innovation centres to really drive research, to drive the commercialisation of that research to industry. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. So there's a question around how do we leverage the city deal portfolio of investment and really get the most out of those, which are really significant investments. In fact, they're investments that we would never be making ourselves. We'd never be able to afford it. So it's something that's big on the agenda. And obviously then things around sustainability, decarbonisation, innovation from a decarbonisation perspective, and one that's close to my heart because we're out for consultation on a strategy at the minute is a circular economy. So how do we use products? How do we consume products? How do we introduce higher levels of circularity within the production and consumption process? And how do we do this in an inclusive way? So it's about how do we get hard to reach closer to the workforce? How do we get higher levels of diversity is a big one. I think what the evidence would show is that the highest performing companies do have diverse boards, they do have diverse workforces. I don't think it would be particularly difficult to delve into the statistics and like they're not good from a regional perspective for us in terms of some of our diversity and inclusion metrics. So there's definitely work to be done there. And if we get this right and get the activity right within these policy areas, we do then hope to achieve these strategic objectives. And I think I've got one slide after this. So it's just sort of to spend a little bit of time, not a lot, just explaining what these objectives are. So there's three things. The first is around research and development. And again, the aim here is that we have a higher number of R&D active companies within Northern Ireland. And why do we want this? Well, it's really because we believe that increased R&D activity will support those areas of strength where we can, as I said, be global leaders. And in turn, that will support the whole economy, providing opportunities for all our people. A rising tide floats all boats sort of approach. Innovation-driven enterprises is something that is new, and we haven't looked at it before. But these are enterprises that are very quick to latch on to what the global opportunities are going to be. They are introducing their consumers and customers to new innovations, primarily product innovations, and they have that competitive advantage and high growth potential over other businesses. So we want to try to drive a higher portfolio and a higher amount of these. Again, increasing the pipeline really within sort of high growth technology areas as well, to really drive that competitiveness going forward. And when we talk about innovation or comprehensive innovation, what we're talking about there is diffusion, and this point about how do we ensure that the benefits of innovation are felt more widely across the economy. And when we look at regions that do this well, in larger economies, we have frontier firms that are excellent in terms of integrating backwards into the supply chains the benefits of some of those innovations that they are continuously leading on. And I think we need to look at how we can do that a little bit better here, and how we can just at a lower level get more businesses themselves, more leaders, more SMEs to begin to look at themselves and think, what is it? How do I embrace a sort of entrepreneurial, innovative outlook in the context of running my business. And Invest NI, for example, run a great program, the Innovation Recognition Programme, and we've actually called for its expansion and set a target behind that. Again, the purpose of that is to work with businesses to see, how do I become recognised and what do I need to do from an innovation perspective to sort of become accredited and become one of those businesses that's driving that agenda. And I think when we get further into the discussions around that, we will begin to look at things around conditionalities and how we support businesses on the basis that they're directly contributing towards some of these targets. In terms of next steps, which is the last slide, as I said, this is very much a moving feast. It's currently very much policy under development, and we are working with a number of stakeholders and a broader sort of network of people that are helping us with the co-design process here. And again, we're very happy to engage with anybody as part of that process, and just drop me an email and we can pick that up. But again, we're looking actively at opportunities that are emerging for higher levels of collaboration, and that's both on a north-south and an east-west basis. As I said, we're looking at funding. How do we become better at incentivising businesses to invest in areas that meet these objectives that I just talked through? And again, we're going to be working with a number of partners, both sort of north and south, to develop this, what we're terming the Innovation Action Plan. But this will really be a package of measures and activity and interventions that will set out what it is we intend to do and how we hope to meet the objectives within the policy framework that I've talked through today. So that's hopefully a bit of a quick canter through in terms of where we are and what we hope to do by way of next steps, and happy to pick up anything afterwards. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Keith. Okay, just invite David up now, to David O'Neill, to give an overview from the policy interest of Ireland.
Thanks very much, Paul, and thanks everyone for joining us here today. As noted, my name is David O'Neill. I head up the Ireland-UK unit in the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. And today I'm going to be giving you an overview of the policy work within DETI and also looking at our enterprise innovation work as well. Just starting off, the slide highlights some of the areas that DETI is responsible for. As you can see, enterprise innovation is probably the area that's most relevant to today, but to be honest, the work is quite cross-cutting. There's a lot of sort of interlinkages within the department, and I would suspect this investment area will likely touch on a number of these policy areas. It's to highlight our ministers, which again highlights the sort of interconnectedness of the work of our department. We have the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment, Simon Coveney, Minister of State for Employment Affairs and Retail Business, Neil Richmond, and Minister of State for Trade Promotion, Digital and Company Regulation, Derek Leary. Just to touch on our mission, vision of the department. The mission is to lead on the creation and maintenance of high quality and sustainable full employment across all the regions of the country by championing enterprise across government and supporting a competitive business base to incentivise work, enterprise, trade and investment, and by promoting fair and competitive markets. Our vision is to make Ireland the best place to succeed in business across all regions of our country, with vibrant enterprises and more high quality employment, growing trade, fair workplaces and higher productivity. This slide will be the last bit of the sales pitch for the department, which is our draft statement of strategy, which was published last month out for consultation. It's focused around 6 strategic goals: maintain full employment, advance the green digital transitions, promote safety, better pay conditions, more secure jobs, quality in the workforce, enhance our business regulatory environment and Ireland's attractiveness as a place to do business, deepen and extend Ireland's local business and trade, and grow further the all-island economy, and build an innovative and agile department. So there are a couple of key strategies and initiatives that inform the work of DETI. First really is Project Ireland 2040. So Project Ireland 2040 is the government's long-term overarching strategy to make Ireland a better country for all and to build a more resilient and sustainable future. With regards to DETI, it was really the availability of world-class infrastructure that's vital to the development of enterprise and economic growth, particularly in the regions. So to align Ireland's infrastructure investment with enterprise needs, we're working with agencies to map out infrastructure priorities for enterprise. With regard to the border region specifically, it will support economic development by facilitating enterprise growth, supporting employment opportunities, and improving accessibility to the region. The department is also engaging relevant government agencies to influence policy and regulatory reform in areas such as planning, environmental licensing to support efficient infrastructure delivery and enterprise development. The other key document that informing our work in the years to come is the recently published Enterprise White Paper. So the White Paper on Enterprise was published in December and sets out our industrial policy for the medium to long term. The vision is for Irish-based enterprise to succeed through a competitive advantage founded on sustainability, innovation, and productivity. So there are 7 priority objectives, and I suppose, again, highlighting it, the most relevant would probably be number 6, stepping up enterprise innovation. But in truth, once more, these objectives are very cross-cutting, very interlinked. So you would see innovation sort of trickle throughout all of the priorities in truth. So the white paper recognizes the importance of having the right framework conditions in place to facilitate competitiveness. An implementation plan is currently being devised, which will be completed in Q1 2023. I'm conscious that next week is the last week of Q1, but I'm assured by my colleagues that this is an accurate timeline, or as accurate as timelines can be. So I would encourage everyone here to, if they haven't already, to read the Enterprise White Paper and the implementation plan when it's published, and there will obviously be follow-on documents that will be exploring these areas in more detail, including enterprise innovation. So just to highlight the work of the Ireland UK unit, which is why I'm here. So we are responsible for North-South coordination, Brexit coordination, and with regard to the North-South coordination piece, we are responsible for DETI's role as the accountable department for Interreg VA and PEACEPLUS, specifically the 2 themes under PEACEPLUS, which is Investment Area 2.1, SME Development and Transition, and the reason you're all here, the Innovation Challenge Fund. So just to give you a sense of the work DETI does in relation to Theme 2.2, I'd like to highlight Impact 2030, which is Ireland's research and innovation strategy, which was launched by the Minister for Further Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science last year. One of the 5 pillars of Impact 2030 is focused on innovation driving enterprise success. And while this is a Ferris-led strategy, the enterprise innovation piece is very much being given direction and input by our department, and will be further driven through the implementation of the Enterprise White Paper. So really what Impact 2030 has highlighted is that while our RDI performance has been strong over the last 30 years, there is a gap between innovation performance of FDIs and Indigenous firms. And this sort of touches on what Keith mentioned himself. It's a balance that we'd like to address, driving startup competitiveness and productivity and high performance in the Irish economy, enabling the business sector to contribute to Ireland's economic and social resilience and transformation. So as noted, the Enterprise White Paper will build on this in its implementation, but I'd also like to give you a taste of the enterprise innovation work within DETI. In addition to working with Ferris to reflect the overall policy of enterprise innovation, we also implement the policy through some research, development and innovation programs. So in 2023, we've allocated €158 million to the Enterprise Ireland Research, Development and Innovation Programme, which will fund in-company R&D support, collaboration between industry and research performing organisations, and commercialisation of research. Collaboration is key to really building innovation. The innovation voucher that EI provides, vouchers worth €5,000 to small businesses to introduce them to innovation, linking them with a network of knowledge providers north and south of the border. Another example of collaboration is the industry-facing portal that are technology gateways that provide sector-specific support in terms of accessing grants and research in Ireland's technological universities and institutes of technology. So the impact of Enterprise Ireland's RDI programme is evident. Companies who avail of these supports perform significantly better than companies who perform RDI without these supports. The programme has a clear effect of helping companies do so at a greater scale and ambition than if the company had gone it alone. And that's an ambition and an impact that I'd also like to see in the projects in Theme 2.2 is to drive that sort of impact and development that I think would be key. So finally, just to highlight Ireland's smart specialisation strategy, which will drive increased levels of innovation performance in enterprise across regions and maximise opportunities for innovation diffusion across regions and sectors. So, yeah, thank you all for your time today. If there's any questions, I'm happy to follow up afterwards, and if I can't answer them myself, I can definitely put you in contact with the people who can. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you very much, David. I'm now going to hand over to Fiona, who's going to give you a bit of information about the 2.2 specific area that we will be looking for concept notes on. We can't obviously share the call document with you because it's not been approved by a programme monitoring committee, but we're trying to give you as much information as we possibly can at this stage to help inform your concept notes. So hand over to Fiona now. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I've got loads of information, but I promise I'll not keep you all day. So hello, great to see so many of you here today. As you can see by the room, there's lots of interest in this investment area, so that's great to see. So my name's Fiona Rooney, and I'm from an organisation called Pinnacle Growth, and we're delighted to be supporting SEUPB with the pre-development support process under the PEACEPLUS Programme for Investment Area 2.2, which is our Innovation Challenge Fund. First of all, just want to remind everybody, there will be quite a lot of information shown today, but the presentation will be online for everybody, so in case you are taking notes. As well, a lot of the information that I'll be covering will be in the concept note as well, which is also available on the website already. So you can download that and start working on that if you haven't already. So as mentioned earlier by Paul, today's Investment Area 2.2 really is looking at enhancing cross-border research and innovation capabilities and the uptake of advanced technologies in a manner which delivers economic regeneration and transformation. So today I'm going to go through the pre-application support that's going to be available over the next coming months. I'll also go through and discuss the concept note and how that will proceed through the day and through the next coming months also, and just gives you the opportunities as well to ask questions at the end of today also. So this investment area has 65 million euros. So it has, for this call, we're likely looking at projects in and around the 5 to 10 million sort of criteria. That's not to say it can't go a bit below or a bit above that as well. And we're also looking in and around 8 successful projects to come out from that as well. So again, as mentioned, there is quite a lot in the room today, so it is a really good opportunity to network and start building on partnerships as well. So yeah, as mentioned by Paul as well, do take today as an opportunity to network with each other. There is also on the SEUPB website an area for 2.2 where you can go on and put information to say if you'd like to partner with anybody also. So again, take that opportunity to share a bit of your project ideas and liaise with each other and see if there's a way that you'd like to collaborate also. So, apologies. So the Challenge Fund itself, so the Innovation Challenge Fund. So the specific objective for 2.2 is to enhance the cross-border research and innovation capabilities and to uptake of the advanced technologies in a manner which delivers economic regeneration and transformation. So basically what we're looking for and what we're wanting this to result in is higher levels of demonstration, I can nearly speak, sorry today, high levels of demonstrable, commercial focused research, development and innovation in the programme area. So it's the entire programme area you want to look at and give us information on how that you're going to achieve that. We also are looking to deliver new products and processes that are looking to the project area as well. So what does this mean? And how does this go about? So the The investment area will support high-level, commercial-focused research, development and innovation with the key programme area and sectors. And I will provide you with a bit more of those sectors as we go through the presentation as well, so you can see a breakdown of the areas that we're looking at for that. We are looking to achieve and build upon existing collaborative relationships and services on supporting cross-border bases as well. So who can apply? So basically these are sort of the ones that we're kind of looking at, and this isn't an exhaustive list. There is other ones included within that. So it is a cross-border consortia that we're looking to develop. It can comprise of a range of stakeholders who wish to collaborate on high-level innovation projects which will deliver local and national benefits. So taking into consideration what both of the departments have said as well, take that into consideration and the benefits and objectives and aims that they're trying to achieve as well, which can be incorporated into your project also. It should be noted though that the partnerships developed, it should be a project over the lifetime of about a 4-year span. So you're looking in and around that, so think about it being at the implementation stage of it getting off the ground and towards the end of it and sort of, you know, finalising off the project as well. So consider that in the development of your projects as well. Just a wee note as well, the size of the enterprise, which is mentioned there for the SMEs, it is at the time of the application. So at the moment, this is a concept note. So do think about when it comes to the stage of submitting an application, you'll be assessed on basically the size of the enterprise at the time of application as well. So as I've mentioned, the investment area fund for 2.2 is 65 million, and we're looking in and around sort of, it is 100% funded as well, so there's no need to worry about match funding if you don't have that, but we are looking for in and around hopefully about 8 projects to be successful through that call as well. So the two sort of areas of scope that we're looking at is research, development and innovation projects. So these are high-level cross-border research, development and innovation projects. So capable of demonstrating commerciality, which will contribute to the programme area sectors, and I will list those sectors in a second. And the other action then is our advanced technologies applications. So just a breakdown of those. So action 1 is at the top there, which is our research and development innovation sectors. So your life and health and sciences, renewable bioenergy, advanced manufacturing, agri-food, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And then looking at the advanced technology applications, this is basically supporting the application for the advancement of technologies across the programme areas, including the development of technology hubs, which will assist enterprises of all scales to develop new products and processes. So those are the two sort of scopes that you need to be looking at whenever you're developing up your concept note. So measuring change then. So, measure and change then. So it is a cross-border cooperation which will contribute to the enhancement and research and innovation capabilities and to uptake the advanced technologies which will deliver economic regeneration and transformation. So similar to what Paul had mentioned earlier, and as I've sort of mentioned again throughout the presentation, you definitely need to consider that as you're developing up your concept note. And across the entire programme, it is really important. Everybody focuses on the investment area, which is innovation, but it is also really important to consider the PEACEPLUS objective itself. So you need to think about, is it contributing to peacefulness, prosperity, a prosperous and stable society for Northern Ireland and the cross-border counties as well of Ireland. So do take those into consideration when you're developing up your concept note as well. For the Innovation Challenge Fund 2.2 particularly then, the output indicators and result indicators, again, these are detailed in your concept note, but just to give you a breakdown, the output indicators are 36 research organisations participating in joint research projects. So with that, a research organisation is considered once, regardless of how many times as well it receives support. So just bear that in mind. If there's going to be a few different elements you're going to be involved in, it is only considered once. There is 96 enterprises supported, so again, that will be another outcome that you'd be wanting to achieve. And again, you can only be counted once for that if you're an enterprise. The next one, so one will be more financial and the other can be 96 enterprises with non-financial support as well. So again, if you're involved in the financial and non-financial, it would be counted once. The same with the result indicator. There are 82 enterprises from that result indicator which aim to produce new products or process innovation solutions. So again, across the border, the 82 is trying to impact, they're the result indicators for the output and can only be counted once towards those. So the actions then. So the type of actions that you're looking to sort of consider is support collaborative innovations in key growth areas, and some of those key growth areas I had mentioned earlier, which will have a positive impact in entrepreneurial activity or productivity. You want to also consider enhancing the productivity and new produced development opportunities of the programme area enterprises, which is aimed to sustain and increase employment levels across the programme area. Increasing the levels of automation and enable programme area enterprises to respond to new technologies across key sectors as well. Increase the level of accessibility, innovation, focused facilities across the programme area, including those which can be utilised by startups as well and are technical and digital focused as well. So then looking at further actions as well, indicative actions, operating at scale through the development and management of collaborative networks. So this is more about developing up the networks and operating at local, national and international bases, including industry clusters. Engaging in commercially led innovation, which will result in the development of new products or more efficient processes. Transitioning to low carbon and circular economy through the development and introduction of sustainable manufacturing practices through education awareness and incentive programs. Delivering lean, productivity improvements and transition to utilise the latest digital technologies and industry tools. And support for SMEs to meet challenges, adapt and thrive in a post-COVID-19 economy. So those are sort of an overview of 2.2 itself. What I'll do now then is go through the application support and the concept note itself. So the concept note itself consists of around 3 pages and around 3 pages of guidance notes. So it'll take each of the questions I'm going to go through with you today, and at the end of it, it also shows you some guidance notes and the questions that you'd like to sort of ask yourself when building up your concept note. The concept note contains about 6 questions, and each of the answers is in and around 300 to 500 words. As Paul had mentioned, it's not scored, and it's not mandatory, it's not scored, and it's not assessed. So it's not that if you go over the 500 words, we'll not read it or anything, or it'll be out the door. You can go a bit above and beyond, but we would ask to try and stick to in and around that, because it will help you, and it will also help us whenever it comes to providing you with some feedback and support for building that up as well. The dates will come up later on, but the concept notes, if they can be submitted to myself by the 4th of May, and we will provide you support right up to that date and within 15 days of receiving your concept note. As always, they generally come at the last minute. I would encourage to start getting involved in the process from right now during the lunch. Feel free to come up and have a chat with me. You can have a look at the concept note and have a wee chat with me before completing your concept note. That's not a problem at all. A lot of people have done that previously in other investment areas, and I believe they found that very helpful and very supportive. So we can have a chat before you complete it or after you've completed it as well, and we can give you feedback on that. From that, we'll determine how your concept note is looking and identify any areas of support that you need. Alternatively, it may come to a stage where we feel actually you may be better going to a different investment area or even potentially another funder as well. So we'll also consider all of those as well. We can provide feedback in relation to your concept note, but also there is the partnership on the website, on the SEUPB website under 2.2, where you can also get ideas from other partners as well, if you'd like to look at that. So the concept note, as mentioned, it is to provide us with some advice and guidance, particularly in and around 2.2 and areas that you may have forgot to consider, and to hopefully build up a stronger application for the future. This is an opportunity to build the foundations of an application. It is a new concept, I believe, from SEUPB delivering this. So it means that if you can deliver this up, it saves if it's not going to meet the criteria, for example. It gives us the opportunity to say, maybe this isn't the call for you, and it saves you going to do the full application, for example. And the opposite way is develop up a really strong application, so when it gets to assessment panel as well, it can be considered whenever you're developing up a full application. So yes, it's not a formal application, the concept note, and it's not scored, but really helps build the foundations to get to a full application whenever that opens. The concept note, it doesn't cover all of the application questions, but we have built in some of that into the concept notes so that it can be used for future reference when you do go to fill in a full application as well. So how to build the strong proposal. So this will provide the breakdown of the concept notes as we go through. So as mentioned, it's around 3 pages, 6 questions, 300 to 500 words each. And if you can, again, try and stick in and around that word count. It's available from today. Please, like I say, give us a shout at lunch or anything, and feel free to email myself. We do aim to provide feedback within 15 days. So reach out before, during, and after your concept note as well, and we'll arrange appropriate support thereafter. So question 1 provides a breakdown of basically about your project. So tell us all about your project and how your project has been identified. Sorry. So how does your project align with PEACEPLUS? So for example, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people jump straight into the investment area and think about the innovation, but you also need to consider about PEACEPLUS objective itself. So it's about peace, reconciliation, peace and prosperity. So you need to build that into the need for your project as well and make sure that comes across strong as well. It's one of the key areas and the main focus as well. For 2.2 particular itself, it's to enhance cross-border research and innovation capabilities and to uptake the advanced technologies. So again, as I'd mentioned earlier, it is the objective of 2.2. Once you've built in that, you can then think about the actions I'd mentioned earlier, and they are also detailed in the concept note. So that's where you can build in what actions you're considering to develop as part of your project. You also want to make sure that you're making use of available and knowledgeable and build upon existing results and practices. So for example, there is a lot of expert people in the room that have developed other projects. You may be building on previous projects and programs that you have delivered, so it's building upon those and using that knowledge to build it. But you also want to demonstrate new solutions and go beyond those existing practices and the sector programs that are already in participation as well. So again, make sure that you consider those. Under the needs identified, also identified as well by the departments that were presenting earlier, you need to consider what their strategic objectives and aims are as well, because again, that will help build up the need of your project and the aims of your project also. So again, just as part of question 1 as well, it's probably one of the longer ones, it's one of the 500 words, because there's so much that you want to try and get in about your project as well. You just want to mention about getting into a wee bit more detail about the innovation and advanced technology solutions that you're considering. So how did they come about, and what you're aiming to achieve as part of your project as well. So question number 2 then, it's about the outputs and the results. So as I showed you earlier, it's about those outputs and result indicators. As I'd mentioned, it is roughly about 8 projects we're thinking that may be approved. So think about how many of those outputs that you're going to achieve and the result indicators that you can contribute towards the programme area. But do bear in mind, it needs to be achievable. You know, you don't want to put something down because it looks better. This is something that you're going to have to achieve upon. So just make sure that you're putting down outputs and results that you can achieve, and give us detail on how you're going to achieve those as well. So how many people will be engaged in the project, what partners, and how you're going to achieve those really as well. So the cross-border, it's obviously a main area as well. So you will need to discuss here how it will become a joint project, how it will be delivered jointly, how it will be delivered jointly. Does that consider about staff from both sides? Does it consider the beneficiaries and the partners and who's going to benefit from the project as well, and show that they're going to be cross-border as well? And using a shared approach in relation to design, so it can be in relation to the design and the implementation of that as well. So just a bit of detail on how you can make sure that it's going to be cross-border project delivered. So duplication, there is obviously a lot of funds and programs out there as well. So we do want to make sure that it's not going to duplicate anything else that's out there. So examine synergies with other existing provisions out there as well. Is there any form of duplication? Is there other people in the room that you're aware of that are going to be delivering projects? Is there an opportunity for collaboration to make sure two people aren't delivering a very similar project, for example? And obviously, how are you going to avoid duplication or displacement within this question as well? So the proposed team and partnership in the implementation of your project. So again, I am aware there's a lot of people within the room that have delivered collaborative projects and things like that as well, so you will have a lot of information here. But sometimes we forget to put all that detail down. So for example, if you're going to partner with somebody, why are you going to partner with that person? Have you partnered with them before? Have you experienced? Did it go well? Did it not go so well? Is there any gaps within the team? Have you identified any gaps, and how will you address those gaps also? Have you thought about, for example, the project risks and how they're going to be mitigated also? Mention about your skills, the qualifications, and how they're attributable to the project as well you're going to deliver. What partners as well is the gaps there, and how will you communicate with those? Is there any agreements in place, for example, as well? Who's going to be responsible for what elements? Overarching, the lead partner will be, and I will provide a bit more detail on how the lead partner will be responsible for certain elements. But again, you want to consider that in your project plan as well, and how the project team aims to deliver the outcomes and the results of the project as well. A lot of people forget when they're thinking about the project as well, what happens when the project finishes. So again, do build that into your project team as well, and what will happen beyond the lifetime of the project. And under innovation, who owns the likes of the IP rights as well? So there's a lot of agreements there about sharing data, sharing ideas, IPs. Again, it would be really good to consider, how will we organise that? Is there policies and procedures in place that we can look at that and make sure that there's going to be no issues further down the line as well? So value for money, it is a really key area for PEACEPLUS Programme. Under the scoring criteria as well, I do believe it's going to be scored highly as well, so it is something everybody really needs to consider. It is a high-level budget that you need to complete in the form at this stage, so you don't need to get into a lot of finer details, but you do need to consider about the value for money when you're looking at your budget also. The fundum also, you can say where the costs are going to be distributed between the consortium partners as well, so you can provide a breakdown of that. There is a wee bit of detail around administration and flat rates as well. I do believe they're still slightly up in the air, so they will be 100% confirmed as the programme gets approved, but there is a few details in there as well of those type of funds. Demonstrating value for money, so when you're looking, for example, for job creation, how did those job salaries come about? Is it in line with other jobs? Is it in line with the market, for example? As well, looking at tendering, was there competitive tendering, if that's applicable to your project? Was it competitive? And looking at those areas as well. The exit strategy, as I'd mentioned as well, you may want to detail some details on the exit strategy for the project, including evidence of durability of the outputs and results as well. So sometimes when the project ends, there may well be still impacts further after the project as well. So again, that may help feed into the value for money. So the lead partner, as I'm sure a lot of you have been a lead partner before, but a few things that you may want to consider. You may think, you know what, I'm not ready to be a lead partner, but you may be able to partner in with other organisations here today. So again, do take the opportunity to network with one another. But the lead partner will the lead partner will have a lot of responsibilities, basically, to oversee the project. They will have the final responsibility of the project. So that will be in relation to, for example, the coordination of it, submitting the application. They will assume the responsibility for the smooth implementation of the entire project and coordinate all partners as well. The financial management as well. So as lead partner, you will oversee the finances of it and approve partners' claims as well. For example, they will be the one person that will look after the finances. So do you have appropriate cash flows in place that can oversee a project of this scale and size as well? Is there any risks identified with that also? The reporting, again, the lead partner will be responsible for reporting back to SEUPB. So they will need to be in a position to get reports and get information from their partners as well, so they can provide that within the system. Communicate. The lead partner will be responsible for communicating with their partners and providing any information from SEUPB out to the partners as well. And training. If there's any training required, again, the lead partner will be responsible for providing training to the partners of the consortium as well. And again, policies and procedures. They will be responsible for ensuring that there's safeguarding and reliable systems and staff and support in place as well for all of that. So the lead partner does have the main responsibility of the entire project. So it is really important to bear in mind, do we have the skills, do we have the cash flow, do we have the staff, do we have the resources to deliver a project of the scale that you're considering to deliver as well. So just a few other things to bear in mind. If you haven't already got a partnership in place, it does take time to build a partnership, and that's what's really good about this process. It's giving you the opportunity to meet people in the room, to meet people and find other people who are looking partnerships from the 2.2 website page as well. And it gives you the time to build up a framework for your project. This is an opportunity for you to think about what is our concept and what's the foundations of our project as well. So it's giving you time to do that. Speak to other potential applicants in the room as well. Try, not cover the same patch of sort of work as we discussed about duplication and displacement earlier. Do have a chat with everybody as well and build up partnerships within the room today and be clear on who is doing what and why they're doing that and why they're the most suitable partner. So you do need to really think, well, what are you trying to get out of this project and what are you aiming to deliver and what's the benefits you see, so that you are all basically singing off the same hymn sheet, I suppose. Be realistic in what you're able to deliver. As I mentioned earlier, it is really important that if you say you're going to achieve certain outputs and result indicators, that you do deliver upon those. Don't bite off more than you can chew, basically. You need to be really realistic and deliver on the scale that the project and the grant is for you. So you just want to make sure it's the right size of project that you're delivering upon. Think about the size of the project again, as mentioned earlier. Think about the finances, what's needed, what's required, how will it impact cash flows. Have clarity in the purpose. So as mentioned earlier and throughout, it is about innovation and advanced technology solutions that we're trying to achieve. But you also really do need to bring it back to the peace objective as well, building on peace and good relations as well. And think about who's going to monitor the targets at the end. Nobody really likes doing that part, so they don't. But think about, monitoring and evaluation of your project too. Who will do that, and how will it be done? What mechanisms, what tools as well. So just to bear those in mind. The timescales then. So as I mentioned, have a chat with me at lunch. That's not a problem. But feel free to start contacting me from now. My email address is on the slide there. As mentioned earlier, feel free to have a chat with me before you develop your concept note, or if you're in a position to go ahead and submit it, we can certainly provide feedback to you within 15 days. The concept note and the concept note is already on the website, and the presentations will be available there in the next few days. The concept note is downloadable from the website, so as I mentioned earlier, don't wait till the last minute. Feel free to start filling in those now and send those back to us. We look at those and assess them and provide further support where it's required based on the information you give us. So the more information you can provide us and the more concise that information is, the better we can assess the future support that you may need as well. And yeah, drop me an email with any questions, any ideas, and if you'd just like to set up a meeting before you develop your concept note. And in due course, as Paul had mentioned, it is a concept note at this stage. The application isn't opened just yet. So in due course, there will be the PEACEPLUS Cooperation Programme information, the programme manual, guidance for applications, and a call for 2.2 in the future as well. But these will be formed at that in due course. Thank you.